Hello, I'm Harris here on the Obsidian Ocean on Puzzle Pirates Dark Seas, and today I am going to teach you the basics of running a stall. So if you don't already know, a stall is a store within Puzzle Pirates that is used to turn raw materials into finished goods, which can be purchased by other players or used in other recipes. You should probably consider getting a stall whenever you've got some funds built up. You're going to need 10 doubloons for any stall that you want to open, but you're probably going to want to have about 60 or 70,000 po at the very least. You can get them in any bazaar on any major island, Ironmonger Bazaar, Distillery Bazaar, whatever, on Port Venture. Any major town is going to have them. A stall is a really good way to make money. I think it's one of the best ways to make money, and it's mostly passive in comparison to pillaging. I want to give a shout out to Ozzy, who was kind enough to purchase this distillery and fund its initial startup so that we could make this video. Running a stall isn't very difficult, but it's very confusing for people who have never done it before because the interface is a little cluttered and not everything is in the right place. It's not easy to access. But let's go ahead and get started. The very first thing that you want to do when you set up a new shop is dump some money in the coffers. This is exactly the same as if you were going to do it on one of your ships. You just go into the inventory, you put the money in, and you hit deposit. Ozzy's given us a little nest egg of 55k. That's going to be more than enough to get us up and running. The very first thing that you're going to want to do after that is go to your Manage the Shop area, and you're going to check the shop recipes. There are a few things that we're looking for when we check our shop recipes. We're looking at the materials. So for instance, for swill, we need 7 units of sugarcane, 4 units of wood, 1 unit of iron. Grog, more or less the same, and hemp oil is going to require hemp, iron, and wood. Also, you can see hemp requires 3 basic hours of distilling labor. Grog requires skilled distilling labor, and fine rum requires expert distilling labor. At a distillery, you can also make mugs, but those are a little more advanced, and I'm not going to cover that in this video. I'm just going to go over the basics. If you want to start your first stall, I highly recommend a distillery or an ironmonger. I own 6 stalls now, and I think those 2 are definitely going to be the easiest. So make note of these materials: sugarcane, wood, iron, and hemp. That's going to be important, and get an idea of how many we're going to need of each. We're going to want to stock a couple hundred sugarcane and hemp at any given time, with less iron and wood. The next thing that you do once you see what materials you need are you're going to research the prices for those items so that you know what to buy them at and what to charge. You can also do this by going to your Manage Inventory screen. On the second tab from the top, we've got Buy, Sell Commodities. It defaults us to relevant commodities, and that's actually great because this is the tab we need to be on. The first one that we see is sugarcane, and I can see that sugarcane is generally being bought by other pirates for 5 po. It's being sold for around 7 po, so I'm going to type those things down. We're going to make a note that sugarcane is going for 5 over 7. We can scroll on down to hemp. Hemp is also generally being bought for 5 and sold at 7, so pretty easy there. You're going to want to make a note of this for every commodity that you plan to sell, and it's going to make a lot of sense in a couple minutes. Iron tends to be bought at 14 and sold at 10 or 11. Now 10 is the lowest price, but there's only 36 of them, so I am going to go ahead and say that it's 11. So iron is 11.14. And our final item that we're going to be looking at all the way down here is wood. Wood's being bought at 23 and sold at 20. Interesting, there's actually sort of a market gap here. We're actually going to say that it's pretty equalized at 2021. This is an irregularity. Someone is buying wood for more than the average sell price, so his automated selling is going to take over that pretty soon. Okay, so we've gathered the prices for our materials. Sugarcane and hemp are going to cost us 5 po to buy, iron's going to cost us 11, and wood's going to cost us 20. About, more or less. Could be less, could be more. The next step is to decide what items you want to stock. We're not going to mess with chalices right now, we're just going to do rum and hemp oil. Next, you're going to go to your Manage Prices screen. It's called Manage Prices, but this is really where you decide how much of everything you want to stock. It's going to take you into this really big and confusing screen with a lot of different numbers and checkboxes and colors and tabs. But the most important thing is to look at the first item. So sugarcane. On hand, we've got none. Our buy price, we don't have one right now, nor a sell price. This fifth tab, use cost, is very important. Use cost says that for every unit of sugarcane we put into a purchase, we're going to charge the customer this much money. If you have a really close buy to sell price like sugarcane, our buy price for sugarcane is 5 and our sell price is 7, it's fair to make your use cost a little bit more than your sell price. Because we need a lot of sugarcane, we probably want to keep maybe 200 units on hand, and we never want to fall below 50. Because if we fall below 50, we won't be able to make a lot of rum. Hemp, we aren't going to need as much of. So our max stock for that case might be 100, but we still want to keep our minimum stock around 50, so that if someone wants to buy 3 or 4 units of hemp oil, they can do it right away. Our buy price is going to be the same, 5 and 7, and I'm going to set our use cost to 8. Just like before, our buy price for iron is 11, our sell price for iron is 14, and our use cost, let's say, is going to be 16. Our minimum stock for iron is going to be 20. We don't need as much. Whoops, I did it in reverse. You got to do the max stock first. I'm going to say we don't want to keep more than 30 iron on hand, but we don't want to keep less than 20. So we'll have constant cycling. We'll be getting iron back and forth. Wood, our buy price was 20, our sell price was 21, and my use cost is going to be 23. With wood, I think we want a little bit more than iron, so I'm going to do max 40, min 20. We could theoretically stock hemp oil, swill, grog, and all these other items, but I don't want to do that. The final step is to check all these boxes. Oops. Which is going to tell us, hey, we're willing to buy this item on the market, we're willing to sell this item on the market, and we're willing to use this item in recipes. Ticking this use cost box means that we're willing to use it in a recipe. The reason that I have both buy and sell ticked is that, say hypothetically we buy 200 sugarcane at 5 po, and someone wants to buy sugarcane at 7 po, there's no reason that I don't want to sell my extra sugarcane to them and then buy back my stock. I've made money on that without even completing an order. So we've got this screen set up. It looks really big and confusing, but that's all we had to do. We had to set our buy price, what we're willing to buy from the market from, our sell price, what we're willing to sell to other players at, and our use cost, what we want to charge other players per order. There's one other screen that goes with this, which is products. Products say what you plan on stocking as a store. You can use this if you want, but if you don't have the materials to make something or the labor to make something, it won't appear at your stall anyway. So having goblet, tankard, etc. ticked doesn't make a difference because I don't have the materials to make them. So what'll happen now is that our hold will automatically be filled with materials from the market since we've set our buy prices, but we can go ahead and do that manually to get started. I think we said that we wanted to get 100 units of sugarcane, so I'm going to go ahead and buy 100 units of sugarcane. I'm sorry, 200 units of sugarcane. I believe we also wanted 200 units of hemp. $40 units of iron. Oh, maybe I only needed 30. I will have a little extra, that's okay. And lastly, Ooh, this wood is a little cheaper. I'm going to buy 35 at this reduced price and then 5 more at this higher price. Oops, did I typo? So now if we look at our inventory, we've got 40 iron, 40 wood, 200 hemp, and 200 sugarcane. We are almost ready to start processing orders. We've got the materials, we've got the prices, we've got the recipes, but we don't have any workers. So that's the next step. If you go back to your Manage the Shop area, you can go down here to Manage Labor, second from the left. You've got 4 tabs here: Wages and Charge Rates, Reserved Labor, Staff, and your Labor Report. All of these are important, and I'll go over them individually. The first thing that you want to do is start taking on labor. Prices for labor that I found to be pretty useful are 60, 80, 100. Now, in this next box, we have to say how much we're going to charge a customer for each unit of labor that we produce. So what you might consider is setting your cost to be 5 higher than what you're paying them, which means that for every 60 po that I pay for an hour of labor, basic labor, I'm charging the customer 65 and I make 5 po on my order. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it adds up over time. Rome wasn't built in a day. Next is your reserve labor. You might notice when you're going to shop at different stalls that you can see some orders which are ready to be purchased immediately and some you have to wait a really long time for. And the reason that some of them are available immediately is that they have reserve labor built up. Reserve labor says that when you have someone, they can come in and work even when you don't have any orders that need that kind of labor. They'll be paid for it and their labor will be used when it's needed. It's really useful to have reserve labor on something that requires moving a lot of materials, like a distillery or an ironmonger or even a furnisher. Next is your staff. Right now we don't have any staff, but when we do have staff, they'll show up here. And finally, your labor report. While there's nothing here, you can use this to keep track of who is working, who has been paid, and what sort of labor they've been doing. Right now we don't have any workers, so the next step is going to be to take a job. Here are our offered wages of 60, 80, 100, and we're going to go ahead and take the job. Now, if we go back to Manage Labor, if we go to Staff, we'll see that I'm an employee. Now, my rating in labor, in distilling isn't really good. I can only provide basic labor. The cool thing about labor is that if you don't use all your hours in any given day and you have a labor badge, every hour the stalls will automatically pull their list of laborers and pull the labor they need from the list of available employees. So when I work here, if we need basic labor and I'm off like bilging on a pillage, chances are my labor will be used to provide for this stall. The other thing of note is that if you go over here to staff, you can see how many employees you have and your maximum labor throughput. It's 10 hours, which means I can only ever move 10 production hours per in real life hour. I can't do any more than that. So if I have 2 orders, which each cost 5 hours of labor, I can push those through in 1 hour. But say that I needed 100 labor hours to complete an order, it would take 10 in real life hours unless I had reserve labor built up. And I always like to build reserve labor up in a distillery or an ironmonger. You might be thinking, hey, I want to get workers. Where do I get workers? How do people come work for me? If you go down here to throw party, it costs 250 po. It's advertised on the notice board. Ahoy! Come get paid. Wages are 60, 80, 100. People might show up to take the job. You can also broadcast in trade chats /trade. Ahoy, come work at Ozzy's Distillery on Port Venture, paying 60, 80, 100, and accepting reserve labor. Someone might show up to take the job, they might not. I don't know. Those are pretty much the basics. In some other stalls, you'll need some special materials. You can go to the Order for This Shop button, say that I wanted to stock some enamel for one of my goblets. I could go to an apothecary and say, hey, I want red enamel. I could order by saying purchase for this shop, and then it would appear in my Manage Orders tab. At your Manage Orders tab, you can see orders that other people have placed and what their status is and how much money you're going to make from it. And for this shop, if you've ordered something for your shop, you can have it delivered the same way that you deliver items to your ship. If you ever want to transfer raw materials out from... Oh, we have our first worker. It's Ozzy, the owner. Ahoy, Ozzy. Ozzy's going to put in some labor and get paid. You can see in your inventory your items. If I ever wanted to move my sugarcane over to, say, my furniture, or my hemp over to my weavery, I could click on it the same way I might transfer materials from my ship and say, hey, I want to put this in Harris's weaving stall. But I don't actually want to do that. I want them right here. Lastly, there's a couple other things you can do. You can edit your news to display a message to everyone who walks in. Ahoy! You can arrange your furniture if you have any props that you want to put in, like my fish skeletons or chart boxes. You can make the room pretty and unique. And that's about all there is to it. So in summary, we need to stock our prices by researching the cost of materials. We need to get the materials in the inventory screen. We need to go to the Manage Prices screen to determine what we're going to buy them for, what we're going to sell them for, and how much we're going to charge a customer for them. And finally, we need to set up our labor by going to our Manage Labor screen. Oh, Ozzy's working here. To determine how much we want to charge the customer for labor and how much we want to pay our employees. Everything should be ready to go. If we go to Order Products, we can click Only for this store. With our labor, we are able to order swill or hemp oil, and it's ready immediately. So let's go ahead and place an order for some hemp oil. Oh, it's ready! Let's view our orders. Oh, it's already ready. We can go to Manage Orders for the at this shop to deliver it. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments or send me a tell on Puzzle Pirates. My in-game name is Harris. Have a good one.